Hey guys, we're gonna have a little bit of fun today. We are going to shame some people for some super poor gun safety and gun craftsmanship, if you will. First of all, guys, go check out my website, legallyarmedamerica.com. Again, go to legallyarmedamerica.com. We've done some pretty cool stuff over the last few months. We've created a place where you can go, where we go seek out deals for you guys. In other words, hardly any of the products that you're going to find on my website are going to be full retail price. You're usually going to find stuff that's a savings. And I'm almost confident enough to say everything you find is going to be a savings. But I mean, who knows? You may stumble across something that's not. But we painstakingly search the internet and places for deals before we post them on our website so that you guys can go there and save money instead of having to find these deals on your own. So go to legallyarmedamerica.com. Again, legallyarmedamerica.com. You'll want to sign up for my newsletter too, because YouTube plays games and you may not get these videos. Plus, we're also going to send you some of the deals of that particular week. We send one email out per week. We're not going to inundate you with emails. But go check it out. Right now, we actually have a gun contest out there for a 6-hour P365 that we're going to be giving away on Black Friday. That's next month, the day after Thanksgiving. So you want to check that out. You can enter several times, and there's multiple ways to enter. You can not only sign up for my newsletter at legallyarmedamerica.com, but you can also like different social medias, and you'll see the different ways out there. I think you can even refer people to sign up, and you get additional entries in order to win. So multiple ways to enter, so please go check that out. Again, legallyarmedamerica.com. Check it out, pretty cool. These next guys probably are going to need some attorneys on retainer. I'm curious if attorneys on retainer would cover this mess right here if it results in a civil case.
Tonight, Missouri Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate Lucas Kunce is making news headlines and blowing up on social media. Now, we're hearing Kunce was at a shooting range at a private residence for a campaign event in Holt, Missouri. That's just north of Kansas City, when he fired a rifle. Investigators say a bullet or another type of metal fragment ricocheted off a target and hit a TV reporter in his arm. Now, these are photos you're looking at from the scene. Kunce saw the reporter. KSHB's Ryan Gamboa started bleeding. Lucas Kunce, who spent 13 years in the Marines, immediately wrapped gauze and his belt around the reporter's arm to stop the bleeding. Now, the wound was later wrapped with medical tape. Here's part of the conversation Kunce had with the injured reporter at the time.
Yeah, I mean, always have your first aid kit handy. You know, you never know what's going to happen. A round can always bounce off of anything and come back and nick somebody, and so you got to be prepared for that. You got to be ready to go. We had like 4 first aid kits here, and you know, I'm pretty proud of the fact that we had that. We were able to take care of the situation. I hope your arm's feeling better, brother. And yeah, we'll have to get you to sling around downrange here and maybe blow up a Coke bottle, huh?
Yeah, I'm in. Whatever. I'm good. Thank you.
Right.
Thanks,
guys.
Now, the reporter remained at the scene and continued his assignment before he was later treated at a hospital for minor injuries and released.
So you guys recognize the chunky guy with the double chin and the light blue shirt, right? That's Adam Kinzinger. Adam Kinzinger was the one who cried. He's a, quote, Republican who cried at the January 6 hearings because he was upset. I'm surprised in any of these pictures we don't see Kinzinger crying again for multiple reasons. One, he's, quote, assisting to dress the wound of this reporter, which, by the way, what kind of outrage would you have heard if a Republican, a true Republican, not Kinzinger, a true Republican, were involved in any kind of a range demonstration, if you will, and a reporter got some rebounds, something that bounced off of one of the targets and hit a reporter? What kind of mess would you be talking about then? But Kinzinger here, I'm a little bit shocked that he's not shedding tears and crying, because this seems like a really emotional issue. And I want to point out some of the main stuff. And you guys, I want you to go right along with me. We in the firearms community, we challenge ourselves to be safer and more responsible with firearms, because we know that the anti-gun people, the politicians, and the enterprises out there who make a lot of money off of dead children and different types of shootings, because they try to tell people and brainwash them that guns are bad, not the people who pull the triggers. We see this a lot where these people go out there and do things that are really unsafe. So I do believe we take a little bit more time to make absolutely sure that we are as safe as possible, and I believe we go overboard on that. We hold ourselves to a much higher standard in the firearms community. I'm talking about you guys too, not just people who make YouTube videos. You guys out there who are avid shooters and carriers of firearms, users of firearms, whether it's for sport, hunting, or self-protection, we all hold ourselves to that standard because we know that there are people on the left just waiting for us to slip up. Even if it were a legitimate slip up where something went wrong and something bad happened, we know that they will try to capitalize on that. So we are extremely safe. I want you guys to look at these pictures with me, and I want you to help me determine all the things that are either definite and blatant no-nos or just things that you probably shouldn't do, or maybe just opinions of somebody doing something that could be looked at as being incorrect. First of all, this picture from afar. Of course, that's the Kuntz guy who's running for Senate over there on the far left, and that's Kinzinger holding the AR-15. First of all, I want you guys to see the very, very, very obvious, which, I mean, there's not only one thing that's obvious, but let's go through these things. I see tannerite right in front of him, right? Those orange labels are tannerite. Maybe they decided to take these to a different range, but they certainly unloaded them and put them on the table in front of them at this range. My point being, there might be a 500-yard range somewhere else on this property that they really intended to shoot that tannerite at and not this range. But they did go through the trouble of unloading those things from their vehicle, I'm talking about the tannerite, and put those containers right in front of them. There is nowhere that I can visibly see in this picture where it is even remotely safe to shoot at and detonate tannerite. If you look at this little range that they're on, maybe 30, 40 feet away. I'm not going to do this in yards because this is so close. We're going to talk in feet. I doubt, maybe let's give them 40 feet away. I would say it's between 30 and 40 feet to those farthest targets right in front of that tree line where that brush is. There is no way that these people, hopefully no way, that they shot that tannerite that close. Again, unloading it right here suggests that they intended to shoot it here. I pray that they did not shoot this stuff right there. We would have a lot bigger of a story, I believe, with a lot more damage to different individuals who were out there had they decided to shoot that tannerite at such close ranges. Now, other things, and I'm just no particular order, just going to go through these. Look how Kinzinger, who's supposed to be a gun guy, right? Hey, he's a Republican. Yeah, I'm a gun guy. Look at his stance. Got that little bit of lean back, right? Instead of leaning forward into the firearm, this is the 5.56 round. I do believe this picture right here is definitely staged, right? Because there's no way you can get away with shooting a 5.56. I'm not saying it has the biggest amount of recoil impulse, but you better lean into that, any kind of these rifles that you might be shooting. I'm not even going to address how close the targets are to him right now. We're talking about his stance. Horrible stance. Horrible. Because again, that's only going to send that right shoulder backwards, and it's going to send him backwards, being top heavy and leaning slightly to the rear and not even leaning forward. He's not even standing straight up. He's leaning backwards. He's leaning away from his shot, which means that it's going to push him backwards, which lends to a much more unsafe environment because that muzzle is going to want to rise also, and he's going to be off balance. Very, very unsafe. That is a shooting 101 mistake that this guy is making. Now, again, I want to repeat, he likely did not pull the trigger. I see no spent brass on the ground right now. Obviously, there's no smoke. There's no sign of anything being shot. If you notice, all the steel targets are all sitting up. I assume those are plates that will fall over. So it looks like nothing has been shot. This may have been a safer environment than you think because it's more of a photo op than it is actually a range day. But that clearly is an issue. Now, let's talk about the high-powered scope that he's got on there. Why in God's name would you need that at 30 feet? There's no reason for that. A red dot, in fact, iron sights would be ideal at this range. And this guy's got a high-powered scope on there for reaching out several hundred yards, right? Now, I can almost guarantee you that his sight picture if he is in fact looking through that scope and it's not a photo op, he's not seeing his target. There's no way. Not at this close of a range with that high powered of a scope. He is not focused in on his target. So again, this also shows that is more than likely simply a photo op and not a range day. Another thing, yes, he has his ear protection in there. Good for him. Look where his eye protection is. And if you're shooting at 30 feet with a 5.56 round against steel, not a paper target even at this close, you're shooting at steel with a 5.56 round and no eye protection, again, this is likely a photo op. Nobody could be this stupid. I take that back. Most people would not be this stupid. Let me just say that. This picture right here, and I'm being very honest when I say this, this picture should be used in gun safety courses. I think this would be a really good idea, good exercise. And again, I'm saying this slightly sarcastic, but I mean this genuinely, that this would be a great opportunity to show that you have somebody who supposedly, Koontz was allegedly in the military, and Kinzinger, who claims that he's a gun guy. This would be absolutely choice to hand your students a picture of this and tell them that these are people who are supposed to know what they're doing. They're supposed to have the background that equips them to be able to manage themselves around a gun range and around firearms adequately, properly, and safely. But can you point the things out that are wrong? I would really, really like to see that. I mean, let's not even talk about the rifle, the long gun that's sitting to the table to the right over there. That's barely perched on the edge. You notice the buttstock is falling off of the table closer to us, and the tripod up towards the front is barely on the edges of this thing. Again, let's pray these people are not shooting that rifle at this short of a distance also. Again, maybe 30 yards. Why unload all of this stuff? I see a shotgun over there, another AR-15. Why unload all this stuff at this particular range unless you're intending to shoot it? You've got high-powered rifles that might be a 30-06 or something, a Win Mag. You've got Tannerite. I mean, there are things that they took out of their vehicles that have no business being on this table. In fact, this is probably a pistol bay. This is more than likely a handgun bay. Well, not more than likely. If it's not a handgun bay, then this range should be shut down. This is not, there should be no long guns on any of these tables. Maybe you could get away with shooting a shotgun at this with some birdshot, but there's no way that any rifle that shoots a cartridge, any kind of a centerfire, should not be, no centerfire ammo, rifle, or anything should be on any of these tables right here. Again, I would almost be willing to bet you any amount of money that there's a sign somewhere near these two tables that say pistol range, no rifle calibers. Folks, this is just another example of the people that are protected by the media getting away with stuff like this and nobody cries foul. And if responsible gun owners do it that don't have the right letter by their name, or they don't lean the right way, because again, Kinzinger being a, quote, Republican, but clearly he votes Democrat. This guy's not a Republican. So he's in with their group, right? He's a Kamala supporter, just like Liz Cheney is. So they accept them in their group. They're there to disrupt the Republican vote whenever it's done. So I would like to think that those of us in the gun community, including you guys out there, we hold ourselves to so much higher of a standard that these are mistakes that we will never make. In fact, when we come upon stuff like this at a gun range, I think we owe it to ourselves and our fellow shooters to politely, without being aggressive, without being rude, but be firm enough to where they know that you're not playing, say, hey man, first of all, this is pistol range, no rifles here, no long guns, where's your eye protection? Put it on your face and get that Tannerite back in your vehicle. Finally, I want to say one thing that I didn't mention when I was going through all the definite no-nos as far as Kinzinger. One of the things that I could not help but notice, and this is again a pretend gun guy that does stuff like this, that forward grip that you've got that Kinzinger is holding on to with his left hand. Your grip should be much higher. You should have a pretty good purchase on not only the fore end, but also that vertical grip. Both of those should be held equally. You're using them to steady one another. So your hand should be wrapped around, probably 2 or 3 fingers should be on that vertical grip, And for sure your thumb and your index finger should certainly be on that forend up high. We're holding a firearm right here that shoots a 5.56 round. We're not holding a snow cone.
I don't understand the point that you're making.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.